Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. We are in Bible Study Part 1. We are, yes, in the NIV. And we will be here all of next year, too, just in the New Testament. And so we're in the New Testament now, in the Old Testament and the Psalms, so we can learn better about in fulfillment of the Scriptures. We are completing the New Testament from the NIV this year. In 2026, we will be doing the KJV. That's the next one. It's the 18, I think it was 63 or 73, I don't remember which one, version. So I don't think that quantifies as the new KJV, but I'm not entirely sure. I have to go look up exactly what that means. Because honestly, I haven't had to in quite some time. When I was younger, and by that I do literally mean, because I moved around a lot as a kid. So when I was a child, as opposed to when I was a teenager. I got the KJV when I was a child. That's what the churches that I found my way to. Because my parents were not churchgoers. I found my way with my friends to these churches. KJV is what they used. When I got to the place where I was a teenager and I got baptized, because I was christened or dedicated, because we were Baptist at that time. But when I got full in water, underwater, raised, baptized, right, which I fully believe in. That's not snarkiness or anything. There's different kinds of baptism besides that one. I recognize those ones too. It's the intention of the purification, to me, that really matters. I got the NIV. So, and then along my paths, I've collected a Catholic Bible. So I will have, and I'm going to continue to collect more. And it's absolutely an intention, because I prefer to have the physical book in front of me to read to you guys from. So I will physically collect these versions. Sometimes I might have to do electronic if I can't really find one of the suggestions in a physical book. But I have time to go do them. So we are in the NIV. We are in Matthew. We are in chapter 20, and we're going to do all of chapter 20, which is 1 through 34. So let's jump in. The parable of the workers in the vineyard. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire men to work in his vineyard. He agreed to pay them a denarius for the day and sent them into his vineyard. About a third of the hour went, and he saw others standing in the marketplace doing nothing. He told them, "You go also and work in my vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right." So they went. He went out again at about the 6th hour and the 9th hour and did the same thing. About the 11th hour, he went out and found still others standing around. He asked them, "Why have you been standing here all day long doing nothing?" "Because no one hired us," they answered. He said to them, "You also go work in my vineyard." When the evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Call the workers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last ones hired and going to the first." The workers who were hired about the 11th hour came and received a denarius. So when they came to those who were hired first, they expected to receive more. But each of them also received a denarius. When they received it, they began to grumble against the landowner. "These men who were hired last worked only 1 hour. They said, "You have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of work and the heat of the day." But he answered one of them, "Friend, I'm not being unfair to you. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I went to give the man who was hired the last the same as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Are you so envious because I am generous? So the last will be the first, and the first will be the last." So if you're getting a lot of earthly rewards while you're alive in these big grand ways, don't expect some sort of favoritism. And you're going to get into heaven first before everybody else, because it doesn't really work that way. One doesn't really have anything to do with the other. I mean, he says repeatedly, you can't worship God, the God of heaven, God, the only real God, the living God, and the God of money. Money doesn't belong to God. So where do you want your rewards? What is the function of the money? Are you worshiping the money? Are you worshiping what you believe that money means about you? Or are you worshiping God? Where is it? Where is your actual faith? Jesus, again, predicts his death. Verse 17. Now, as Jesus was going up to Jerusalem, he took the 12 disciples aside and said to them, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be betrayed to the chief priests and the teachers of the law. They will condemn him to death, and they will turn him over to the Gentiles to be mocked, flogged, and crucified. On the third day, he will be raised to life. Okay, yep. That's the way that is. A mother's request. Then the mother of Zebedee's sons came to Jesus with her sons, and kneeling down, asked a favor. What is it that you want? He asked. She said, grant that one of these two sons of mine sit at your right and the other at your left in the kingdom. You don't know what you are asking. Jesus said to them, can you drink the cup I'm going to drink? We can, they answered. Jesus said to them, you will indeed drink from my cup, but to sit at my right or left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared by my Father. He's like, I'm lucky I got a seat, dude. I get to be your defense attorney, all right? When the 10 heard about this, they were indignant with the two brothers. Jesus called them together and said, you know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. That's true. That still happens now. Absolutely. The nobles have always been pretentious. Only King David was any good at not being pretentious, humbling himself before the Lord. The rich people have always been snotty. You know, things matter to who the type of people they matter to, because people are people. Not so with you. Jesus said, like, you're not allowed to do that and be my follower. Instead, whoever wants to become greater among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, to give his life as ransom for the many. So if you think about what Jesus was sacrificing, think also about what he did. He's running around, he's healing people, he's purifying, he's casting out demons, he's washing the feet of his disciples. He's telling them the truth about who he is. He's trying to set a solid example for them about what it is. In order to be the Messiah, he had to have his head down, do the work, and not just be full of his own self and want people to wait on him and serve him like he's a king. He's not doing any of those things, those pretentious, my faith is for show things. In fact, he's very specifically giving away stuff and living in, you know, basically what would be like considered, well, not quite sackcloth, but if, you know, while the high priests, the Levites, are running around in their pretentious robes, making a show of their faith, the lip service that is their faith. It's not real faith. It's not real faith because it's about, making a show of their faith instead of in their heart wanting to help somebody, which is what Jesus is doing. So you can't be, have that kind of seat next to him. One, he says he doesn't have the authority. And then two, he says it is a sacrifice. You are sacrificing your life, your wants, your will, your desire, your whatever it is to God to do what he tells you to do, even if it means you might be tortured to death. That's what you're signing up for. And if you're not signing up for that, you can't drink the cup he's got. Brave on them. Brave on them. Or ego on them. I don't know which. Because, so I've been doing some research. And I wouldn't say that I'm an evangelical as far as like the religion goes, because not really. Although some of their doctrines are like, sure, yeah, that sounds like you're a Christian. So I'm not saying they're not Christians. It's going to depend on the individual. Not everybody who participates in that faith, just like the rest of faith. That's generally my opinion on all of faith. It really depends on if the person in the faith has got a good heart, then they're a good person. If they're not hurting anybody or trying to find excuses to hurt people, it's not so excitable for me. Other people, I realize, have much stronger reactions to that. I'm supposed to love. That's the commandment. He decides. He's going to sort us all out. It's not for me to do that. And I have to remember that. Because as a preacher, there are preachers that do that. And I can't do that. It's not my place. It all belongs to him. So I'm going to read his word, and I'm going to trust in the faith and his job. He does his job very well. I don't need to try to do his job for him. I have things I got to do and focus on right here in this 3D world. And I keep my P's and Q's to there. So it's not for me to say. But, like, the idea that they're this close to his crucifixion and they don't yet understand what it means, the way the persecution is going to go, is a little frightening, I got to be, for him, because I would be scared for them. 2 blind men receive sight. Verse 29. As Jesus and his disciples were leaving Jericho, a large crowd followed him. 2 blind men were sitting by the roadside, and when they heard that Jesus was going by, they shouted, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us." The crowd rebuked them and told them to be quiet, and they shouted all the louder, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us." Jesus stopped and called them. "What do you want me to do for you?" he asked. "Lord," they answered, "we want our sight." Jesus had compassion on them and touched their eyes. Immediately they received their sight and followed him. That I would too. If I had been blind all that time, however long that is, and all of a sudden this guy going like this on my eyes, and whoo, I'm all better. Yep, you're the Messiah. Because that's not possible without God. How did you do that? But God. I mean, obviously God. But sure, I'm down to ride with you. Especially when he just says, love one another, man. That's why I'm down to ride with him now. Because he says, you know what? Don't look for excuses to be crappy to people. Look for excuses to run around and give people blessings. Like, uplift them. You have permission to give random blessings to the world whenever you want. That sounds like so much more fun.